Hi folks, this is Ollie here at Visordown, and today we're at Triumph. Speaking with Miles Perkins, Head of Brand Management at Triumph Motorcycles. And this is, of course, the Triumph Tiger Sport 660. Bit of a mouthful, sometimes I get it wrong. And it's the latest new model coming from Triumph. It's like another week, another new Triumph. So this is the latest one in the run of the 660 platform, following on from the Trident.
That's right.
Please introduce your bike, please.
Well, you're quite right. It's the latest new model from Triumph. Just launched, new Tiger Sport 660. It's a triple. So 660 is the nods to the capacity of the motorcycle. It goes head to head in its category with twins. So of course, being a triple brings a few advantages, including being the highest power bike in the category.
This is, of course, a very familiar platform now to people about a year on from when Trident was launched. So why the Tiger Sport as the next in the line on the 660 platform?
Absolutely. So the new Tiger Sport 660, which we've just launched, that goes side by side now with the Trident. They're both triples. They're both middleweight bikes, but the Trident's more of a roadster and has its own competitive set, other motorcycles that are similar to it. But this bike sits more in the adventure sports category, middleweight adventure sports. Now, there are several bikes in that world which have a similar set of dynamics, and that would be for more all-round use. So more versatility, more of an upright riding position, more luggage and pillion capability and capacity, and also the technology and features that suit more of an all-round versatile riding setup. So with the Tiger Sport 660, the differences between this and the bikes in its category are that it brings TFT instruments versus the traditional instruments that are already in the category. We have two riding modes which are unique in the category. We've got switchable traction control, which you can turn off, but are also built into the riding modes, which a couple of the bikes that this will go head to head with don't have. In comparison with the riding position for the Trident, this is more upright. It's still got a great low seat height, 835mm seat height. It's still got the really nice slim width, which gives you great sort of standover and low speed. But in terms of the foot peg position or foot to seat is a little bit different. You've got extra leg room, about 35mm more leg room. And then the rake in the trail, subtly different. The length of the swinging arm, subtly different. And all of that is to give you the riding dynamics that are more suitable for all rounds. You go touring on the bike, you can use it as a commuter, and that's all of that comes from feedback from customers and looking at the bikes that they could get in the category already, and looking to bring something more.
Now let's, on the outset here, and this is a slightly different take on the sort of Triumph sort of family face, the Triumph silhouette than, say, the Trident or the Tiger. So what was the kind of the thinking behind this, and how important do you think a style is to a customer such as this compared to the Trident?
Well, I think everyone who's a biker, sort of knows that the looks of a bike come first in every category. What the team were looking to do in terms of the look of the Trident is to give that sort of modern contemporary take, but a new style, and that was the brief here. So it's an adventure sports motorcycle, so the riding dynamic and the look all have to go hand in hand in terms of being that sort of upright poise. But I think the aesthetic of this bike, the clean lines and the profile, the nose of the bike, the really slim sort of contoured tail, which has got the light built into it. It's all part of the evolution of the Triumph language. So for me, it's still very much a Triumph. You have similar sort of echoes to the Trident in its principal sort of style, but this introduces a new flavour, a new language into the Tiger lineup.
Now, it's one of several new models that are kind of going into a new marketplace. That keeps you very busy, obviously, as a brand manager. So how important is this kind of category for Triumph, especially in its kind of rivalry with Yamaha and Kawasaki that have been there for a long time?
So this is an incredibly important motorcycle for the brand. So the introduction of the Trident, the introduction of the Tiger Sport 660, and also the bikes that we're developing in partnership with Bajaj really are opening up the brand to new audiences. So the sort of rider that would buy this, you'd certainly see customers who are more experienced and more mature looking for a great all-rounder, but there's also a large contingent of people who would buy a bike like this who would be buying their first big bike. And in looking to buy a Triumph previously, the bikes that we would have had would have been higher capacity or more extreme in the categories that they were in terms of being sports bikes or full-on adventure bikes. So I think this being a more all-rounder, a lower capacity, but still all of the things that we believe would make a Triumph desirable, so the handling and the quality and the finish. This is a big investment to build the brand for the future, to introduce new riders to Triumph, and as you know, what will follow then will be smaller capacity bikes that come from our relationship with Bajaj in India.
This is the fourth Tiger branded Triumph to go on sale. How important is the Tiger brand to Triumph? And the 660 platform is the second bike to come from that. We know it's a sort of stretchy platform. There'll be questions as to why perhaps it's gone for a Tiger Sport rather than perhaps a Tiger Cub, for instance, especially with the Tenere, got the new Touareg, and Ducati will enter the category later in the year with its Desert X.
Well, there's sort of two answers to that. So in terms of how important the Tiger name is and why a Tiger, that's our name for adventure. And actually, in regard to what you can buy from the Triumph lineup today, that's the most historic name. Mm-hmm. That goes back to the 30s in terms of being the name that you would have had for dual purpose or multi-purpose motorcycles from Triumph back in the mid 30s. And then to your second side of the question, why not a more off-road focused bias? The answer to that is, of course, is that in the adventure world, again, there's sort of two flavors. You've got adventure in an off-road sense, both in the style and the look, but also the ability to genuinely go off-road. But there's an awful lot of motorcycles that are in the sports, road-focused adventure world, and these two sit in that world. So I wouldn't compare this with the Tenere. I'd compare this more with the Tracer 7 or the Kawasaki Versys, all very road-focused and biased, much more of a touring all-rounder. So this isn't designed as an off-road motorcycle at all. This is definitely a road-focused adventure bike.
Now, I know you're going to be biased. Have you been out on this?
Absolutely.
Have you given it a go? So
and ridden it versus its competitors as well, of course.
Let's get the kind of the biased review from Triumph, but also just tell me a bit more about the sort of features and what the kind of owners can potentially expect from this.
Okay, well, in comparison with its competitors, and also what the design team were looking to do to raise the game and bring it up, the first thing to say is I think the riding position and the nature of that triple engine give you something that really hits the sweet spot for that kind of, if you want to push on, or if you're looking for a more spirited sort of sporty ride, you've got that. But actually, for putting luggage and a pillion on, you are really, obviously it's an all-new motorcycle, so a very comfortable seat. The seat height's nice and low, but you can lower it again with an accessory lower seat height, so you can take it down from 8.34, you can take another 25 mil off with the accessory seat. So it's a very easy bike to get on, and it's a very easy bike to get going, which I think is very important for riders who may be new to large capacity or larger capacity motorcycles. Other sort of key features with the bike would be the technology, the riding modes, just how easy it is to move around the TFT screen, which I think is super easy to look at. You know, the adjustable screen, which allows you, with one hand to change the setup, which, if it's raining or if you're going to put a bit more speed on the bike, that helps there. I just think it's a really comfortable all-round bike, but it's a triple, so it sounds great. And when you get going or you're building through the mid-range, it really pulls. It's fabulous.
Now, like I said at the top of the video, there's been a slew of new models coming from Triumph, and I'm sure there's even more to come. But it's all kind of been kicked off by the Trident, which launched about a year ago, has been a very notable success for the brand. Sales are very good, and how are you looking for towards the end of the year? And how pleased are you that the Trident has really sort of captured the market, and has it exceeded expectations? Absolutely.
There was a lot of work, a large team in developing to go into a new category. It's a very different prospect from updating or developing an existing model from creating something completely new. So there's a lot of work goes into sort of planning, talking to customers. So to see the Trident hit the market less than a year ago, and globally we've shipped more than 12,500 of those, which is phenomenal. Better still, the feedback from customers, dealers and the media has been incredibly strong. And what we're hoping to see with the Tiger Sport, of course, is a similar reception. It's hard to know with sales at the moment because the global situation for buying and riding motorcycles is still quite affected. But given that this brings the same advantages that the Trident did and is going head to head with pretty much the same brands and their versions of that bike, this has the lowest cost of ownership in the category. It's got the highest power in the category, and it's got technology features that others don't have, plus very high spec equipment. So you've got the Michelin Road 5 tyres, Showa front and rear upside down forks, remote preload adjustable rear suspension, good kit, things you can't get on anything else that from our conversations with customers they're really looking for, so technology that adds to the ride. We're quietly confident, but are very keen to get your opinion on it, which is why we've got to get you on it, because obviously the bike's for riding, not for necessarily standing static and pointing at.
This is obviously the second model from this 660 platform, we'll call it. And given the success of the Trident, does that give you confidence that you should move into other segments potentially?
Well, I'll give you our, of course, the corporate answer is I can't possibly speculate on other motorcycles that may or may not be in the lineup. We're always listening, and I think it would be fair to say that Triumph's been very prolific in developing the motorcycles and launching new bikes. This is I've lost count of how many new bikes we've got this year, and that's not to say that it's just like an endless machine. Every single one of those bikes has got their own team and years of development going into it. But we are a very prolific and productive company. We're looking to build the brand, grow Triumph around the world, bring more riders to it, and these bikes represent broadening the capacity and entering new segments. So I would say watch out, because there's lots in the pipeline, but I can't speculate and give you a clue as to yes or no to any suggestion.
And just an extension of that, it's obviously a move into an entry point
Yes.
for Triumph, but that's a really competitive market, potentially gets more sort of volume sales, which is great for the company, but more competition, of course. Yeah. Looking forward, we know Triumph will be going into an even kind of lower segment with your collaboration with Bajaj. Can you just tell me a little bit more about how that's kind of progressing at the moment?
Well, that's going absolutely great guns. So I've seen the development motorcycles, the prototype development going for those. It's all on track. We haven't yet confirmed exactly what the bikes are and exactly when we're going to launch them, but I can tell you that news will be forthcoming relatively soon. And the relationship with Bajaj, from my perspective and the conversations I've had with the team over there, and also the engineering team at Triumph who are working with them, are that they're very like-minded, very passionate individuals, and their focus and their commitment is astounding. I mean, they're one of, if not the largest manufacturer, and but similar leadership, family principles, values. So the working relationship's very strong. The design development, which is completely Triumph, these are Triumphs, and the partnership is in building and selling them around the world. But what Bajaj bring is phenomenal in terms of the ability to develop quality at volume, and that's exactly what that the smaller capacity world is about.
Now this one here, we've got one fitted with the Triumph accessories. If you just want to talk us through what we have here.
Absolutely. So there are over 40 additional dedicated accessories you can get for the Tiger Sport, and quite a lot are on here. As I mentioned, I think already you can get a low seat for it. You've got scrolling indicators, additional lighting, the belly pan. But I think in terms of the all-round versatility and the use of a bike like this, luggage is absolutely key. So we've got an all-new luggage system. What's fitted here is the panniers and the top box. You can get a crash helmet in each pannier, 2 crash helmets in the top box, and they're, to my view, they're the easiest system I've ever seen. Fully lockable and waterproof, but they click on and off, and the bike has got mounting points already built into it, which are nicely sort of sveltely built into the back of the bike. Click on, click off, and you can colour code them to the bike as well.
Miles, thank you. We'll be throwing a leg over this in the next few weeks. £8,450, I'm told.
Yep.
And February 2022, already into next year, will be when it will be coming out. So like and subscribe to make sure you are the first to get our views on the Triumph Tiger Sport 660.